So we are joined from the campus of Hinds Community College in Raymond, Mississippi, by my friend, my sister from another mister, Calandria Dionne Walker Evans. We thank you so much for joining us today. We are joined here by a room full at Velma Jackson High School. We are in the Education and Training Career Cluster, and we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for talking about your 17-year career in education. And it's crazy. We've been doing this now since COVID. You're the first licensed educator we've ever had because they're usually at school. All right. So before we get into all, because you've literally had every job in a schoolhouse that I could think about. So before we get into that, you went to Murrah High School. Then went to Mississippi College, and then got your master's at Belhaven. So talk a little bit about your high school experience and why you started gearing toward becoming a teacher while you were in college.
Okay, so again, I am a proud Murrah High School graduate, class of 2002. And I did, as Greg mentioned, I did matriculate to Mississippi College. From there, I did go to Belhaven, followed by a whole lot of other places, going back to Mississippi College to get my second master's in school counseling. And I'm currently also back in school to get some additional credentials in mental health. So, what kind of swayed me to go into teaching was I had a very good foundation. My mom was my first teacher. From there, I went on to have amazing teachers in elementary, middle school, high school. But it wasn't until I got to high school that I had a collection of amazing teachers that inspired me to want to just seal the deal with being an educator. As I mentioned before, my mom was one, and she was one for 30 plus years. And so I knew the schoolhouse. Like I grew up in the school system. And so I knew it really well, but I wanted to, of course, venture, and do other things. But needless to say, I had an amazing group of teachers in high school that inspired me. And then I went on to Mississippi College, and that's where I met Mr. Pyatt. And we had some awesome instructors there, one being the awesome Martha Hudson that inspired us to start and continue our journey in education. And so that kind of leads me to where I am now. Although I'm no longer in the school system, I still work with students in the mental health realm at Hinds Community College.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get to that. But one thing I want to talk about is we have a lot of teachers in all of our schools that have gone to a variety of colleges. Well, Jackson State, obviously, great education program. Ole Miss, Southern Miss is known for theirs. William Carey is really getting big in their Masters of Education. But Mississippi College really, for people looking to be teachers, Mississippi College offers things that I think is kind of overlooked because when you are going to school to be a teacher, and this is for people getting education degrees. I did not get the education degree. We'll talk about that in a second. But for people looking to be teachers and wanting to get an education degree out of college, you have to do the practice teaching. And Mississippi College is close to so many schools where it is very easy to get that done. And then because Mississippi College is not very big, you're going to get that one-on-one time with those instructors. So
Mhm.
I really think that's something that gets overlooked. And also, again, Ole Miss, Mississippi State are all great schools, but I hear so many teachers that they'll go to school there, but they'll have to drive an hour to
Mhm.
go student teach, and they're not even getting paid. It's one thing
Mhm.
if you're getting a paycheck, but they're having to go drive to Okolona or go to
Mhm.
Iuka just to student teach because that's the only place they could be placed. So I do think the Mississippi College, the Belhavens are very, very underrated when it comes to getting an education degree.
And I absolutely agree. As I mentioned before, Mississippi College, that's where Mr. Pike and I met. And we were given a very, very very personal, upfront, in close, detailed education on becoming a teacher. And I did graduate with a teacher degree. And so I went on to take the practice and I went on to get a Mississippi license. So I am a certified teacher, as you mentioned before, and I went the whole realm. And just, I mean, people like you who didn't even go that route, but you ended up in that field. I think Mississippi College speaks to that because you were inspired, obviously, by something to come into this field. So you were absolutely right.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned Martha Hudson. She was, I know she's one of the top influences on both of our lives, and I think we'd be remiss to not mention how great she really is.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to being a teacher, a lot of people say, obviously we see the memes and we see the things in the media about, they're not getting paid enough. And look, and we're not paid enough. But the pros are so great that people don't realize because you have a set schedule, even though
Mhm.
we do work at home a lot, and that just is what it is. But you're off on the weekends, you're off on the holidays, you get to spend time with your family over the holidays, you get to plan trips over the summer,
Mhm.
and you're not working late at night, and it really is something that is pretty much set in stone. So, and the state benefits being a state employee, you get the state health insurance, you get the state retirement. So it really is a lot of things that kind of people don't think about when it comes to getting into education.
And I would agree. 17 years ago when I entered the field, I was so bright, bubbly, like eager, ready to go. Like if you opened the encyclopedia and you saw the word teacher, my face was there. Like, but again, the climate in education has changed. So since Mr. Pike and I started, although it's not a long time ago, 17 years ago is a long time when we first entered into this awesome world of education. But one thing that I would speak to is for me, teaching or when I was a teacher, you had to make it what you wanted to be. Everything that I did was for my students. None of it was about me. And so because everything was for my students, I often was able to make them or allow them or help them rather meet my expectations or the state expectations in learning. My last year teaching, I actually taught United States history, which is a subject area test, and you have to pass it to graduate. So imagine the nervousness and the anxiety surrounding that because of course you need it to graduate. And so as a teacher having to deliver such, you know, for me, history was awesome, but for the average person, they don't like history. And so having to, make sure that, you hit all those content areas and you do everything that you need to follow that blueprint to deliver that content and hit those standards to pass that state test, like that is a lot. And so, I mean, like I say, teaching, you make it into what you want it to be, but it's definitely a collaborative effort, which should be amongst your administration, your teacher, your colleagues, your students, definitely, and their parents. It is definitely a joint area.
Yeah, and now, and you mentioned you taught world history, you taught U.S.
Any
history.
type of
You've
history,
also
you name it,
Yeah,
I
and
did
but
it.
you've also been a school counselor. You've been
Hmm.
in administration, so
Hmm.
you've worn a lot of hats in school. So for people that say, "Look, I want to get into education," what are some other careers that are needed in the schools that maybe kids may not realize could be very, very, very rewarding?
Wow, I guess I didn't realize I wore so many hats. Librarian. The love of reading. I feel like the love of reading should be re-embraced in our society because if you can't read and comprehend, how can you make it from day to day? Um, you have tutors, academic tutors, people that are there as support for the students. All of those are needed in schools. I'll even be, transparent. Secretaries. They are, in a sense, the backbone of the central office or the office of the school because we all know secretaries know everything and they'll tell you what you need to know. So, like I say, there are a variety of jobs that you can do inside the school that, of course, be there to support the school, but overall to be there to support the students, which is what it should be all about.
Yeah. Now, like we mentioned, I did not get the education degree, but there is also a pathway to become a teacher if you don't get the education degree. I didn't, a lot of people don't know this. I did not start teaching until I was 30 years old, and now I'm
Mhm.
43. So, even though I've got some years in now, I got in late. So, let's say somebody gets a college degree and they get into a field and they say, this really isn't for me. There's an opportunity to get into teaching. So, talk about how the alternate route works.
So the alternate route, ironically, just like Mr. Pike, my husband, who's also a teacher, he went the alternate route. Like you, he did not start off wanting to be a teacher, never even thought about it. But over a course of talking with people and just kind of researching, it fell in his lap. And so from there, he went through the alternate program, and from there, he's going on to do other things in education. going the alternate route to become a teacher. So, there are a variety of programs, some free, some you have to pay for. At Mississippi College, Belhaven, Jackson State, I want to say Tougaloo has one. All of these schools that are in the surrounding metro area have put things en route for you or in place for you to become an educator.
Yeah, and also I think it's important to know that this is one of the few jobs that you have to have a degree for because
Mm-hmm.
you know one thing we've done throughout this program is we've really given kids options. And we'll talk about community colleges in a second. But we've seen so many careers that you know sometimes you need a degree, sometimes you don't. But this is one where if you want to be a licensed educator, pretty much in any state, especially Mississippi, you do have to have a college degree.
And then, too,
Now,
let me say this.
oh, go
Education is
ahead.
one of the most welcoming fields that you could ever get in. Like we welcome anybody to especially those that have a passion for it and those that want to help our students. So it is and then besides teachers, pretty much we run the world. Like because of us, other people are able to have jobs and other people are able to do things. So hey, come on over.
Yeah,
These are
and also because my you know my degrees were business based, it's been useful to me to have that
Mhm,
business experience to be able to teach it and be able to talk about it and to be able to get that uh, corporate world experience. So if you get
mhm,
a degree in something else and want to spend a few years doing that and then get into teaching, that is always welcome. I know
mhm.
at all of our schools here in the district, we have people with all types of degrees that have then become teachers, and it's been very, very useful not only
Exactly.
for our school but for our students to get
Mhm,
a
mhm,
diversified experience. Now, I want to talk briefly about your new position there at Hinds Community College, because obviously we are big proponents of the community colleges. We have a
mhm.
great relationship with Holmes. We have a great relationship with my man Donnie Epting over there at Hinds, who's just seems to be Mr. Hinds. I mean, I've never seen somebody
Yes,
more on
yes,
fire.
yes,
And
yes.
if anybody wants to know anything about Hinds Community College, big plug Donnie Epting over there
Yes,
at Hinds.
yes.
He's
He is a
the
great
man when
colleague
it
of
comes.
mine. I just talked with him a little while ago. So
Yeah,
yeah.
he is the man when it comes to admissions in Hines at
Mhm,
Hines. He can tell you about any of the campuses, any of the programs. So
yes.
get in touch with Donnie Epting if you want to go to Hines. So, but anyway, what you do now is you provide mental health services to college students,
Mhm.
and staff right there on the college campus. So, I think that's important to understand because we have kids that, you know, some want to go to four-year university, and that's great. We support that. Some want to go to the military. Some want to go to the community college route, and you know, and all of those offer great things for a young person deciding their path after high school. But it's also important to know that they have these services on campus that are provided to them because there has never been a better time and more attention, especially since COVID, to mental health of young people that are transitioning from high school. So, what are some of the things that you guys provide, and what are some of the services that you guys offer to anyone on any of the highest campuses, whether they're living on campus or they're a commuter?
So as you mentioned, yes, we are a part of student services, and we do offer to all currently enrolled students and faculty members, excuse me, free, free confidential mental health services in a safe place. We have offices on all six of our campuses. I personally occupy the space in Utica with Dunny. Shout out Dunny Epton. And I have an office here in Raymond, but we are, spread across all six campuses, and often I occupy the virtual space too. So I have students that are online as well. But we do provide mental health services to all currently enrolled students, staff, and faculty members.
Yeah, and that's so important because now more than ever, we have more and more first generation college students. And look, even coming from even at our larger schools, when you get to a new environment, it can be an
Mhm.
adjustment. So it is okay to understand. And even if you don't go to Hines, there are mental health
Mhm.
services at every campus in the state of Mississippi,
And
public,
also, let me
private.
put in this plug. Each student, faculty and staff member get 10 free sessions. And if there's a situation where they say, you know what, I feel like I need something outside of Hines, we also have an patient office as well that we refer out. So we have and which is still free. So we have a variety of resources that we provide students here at Hines to just kind of get them over the hump and get them through because, like you mentioned, it is definitely needed, especially after COVID.
Yeah, and look, and we want everybody to understand, no matter what college campus you step foot on, this will be available to you
Right.
because people are starting to understand how important this is.
Hmm.
So when kids are going to a new environment, it's perfectly okay to feel those mental health strains. But there are
Right.
people like yourself that are on these campuses to help. And it really is always somebody to listen. So I really want everybody to understand that as we start transitioning out of high school and start going to these different places, because there's so many
Hmm.
great schools in Mississippi. So
Yes,
obviously
absolutely.
we want everybody to go to the school that best fits them. But we
Absolutely.
also want them to understand that they have these services that is going to really make that transition easier.
Absolutely. That speaks to me even louder because after spending 17 years in K-12, when I see students that come here on the higher ed side, I'm able to kind of look and see some of those things that I have seen over the years, and I'm kind of able to be an advocate for them because oftentimes there's a thick wall between K-12 and higher ed. And so having to spend those years, I'm able to, like I say, advocate for those students and say, you know what? I'll talk with him or I'll talk with her. I understand because again, coming from K-12 is a it helps in higher ed.
Yeah. So I do have some questions from the students. I'll
Okay.
get to as many things as I can, and these are really good. So I'm gonna get to
Okay.
these.
I'm ready. I
Uh,
have nothing but time.
this first one is Jakala Latiker. She's in 10th grade, and
Okay.
she asks, "What's the most difficult job? I'm sorry, the most difficult challenge you've had during your educational career?"
Hmm. Girl. Um, I've had a lot, but I will say one that kind of hit really, really close to home. Um, I began to take things personal. And so when I began to take things personal from others, I started to kind of spiral out of control because my love and thoughtfulness of students have always been at the forefront. But oftentimes you get around people or you're surrounded by people that don't mimic that. And so because they don't mimic that, you begin to see things and things begin to happen. And so for me, I started taking a lot of the things that people did, particularly the students, personal. And so I had to take a step back and realize that again, it was not about me. It was all about the students. So it allowed from that situation, it allowed me to become more of an advocate for students, while at the same time becoming an advocate for myself.
Yeah. Now, something that I forgot to mention, and I think because of the changing demographics of the state, especially of our district, there has
Mhm.
never been a bigger need for translators in the school
Mhm.
district.
Yeah,
We
I
have a lot
agree.
of Spanish speakers in Madison County
Mhm.
schools. We have a lot of first generation Americans, a lot of
Mhm.
children of immigrants.
Mhm.
So if you can speak multiple languages, the school system can find a place
Mhm.
for you. I cannot believe I forgot
Absolutely.
about this. I didn't mean to
No,
cut
and
you off, but
absolutely. And we too, we use translators here on the mental health side as well. So I definitely agree.
I like this one. This is Justice Conway. She's in ninth
Okay.
grade, one of our basketball players here.
Okay.
And she asked, yeah, that's the way you shoot it. She asked, what are some skills that you've developed while trying to help others?
Interpersonal skills. I've learned to listen with my eyes and my ears. With a lot, I've learned to find value in nonverbal communication, also known as body language. And so those are some of the things that I take pride in because a lot of times people say one thing, but their body is saying something different. And so because of that, I'm able to notice those things.
Now, here's one, and I don't even know the answer to this one. This is Demontre Strange. He's in 10th grade. One
Okay.
of our football
Okay.
players played in a playoff game tonight.
Okay.
And he,
Congratulations.
yeah, they're headed down to Taylorsville in a little while. But he asked, if you had not been a teacher, what other pathway do you think you would have chosen?
Ooh. Oh my. I don't know. I don't know because I've always liked to help people, and so I figure why not turn. I've always liked to help people. I've always liked to talk. I've always liked to be around people. So I figure why not turn all of that into a career. So I don't know. I really don't. Because I really personally feel like God put me in this position. So I don't know. But good question. You making me think because I'm almost near retirement. So
Yeah,
you
and I
making
think
me
that's
think.
funny that you say you like to talk because I know I'm a talker too. I just think it's hilarious. Whenever me and you are both around your husband, the poor guy can't even get a word in.
Shout out, Cedric.
Big time. He's a good one. This is Mila McCullough. She's in 10th grade, one of our Blue Diamond dancers here. And she
Okay.
asked, what made you choose to move into the mental health area?
So, as I mentioned earlier from one of the previous questions, I began to take things personal from that other people were doing. And so, as a result of that, it affected my mental health. So, I began to work on my mental health and I began to seek resources to help with that. And as a result of me seeking those resources and becoming a better me, I decided to delve into the mental health world. So, that kind of puts me where I am now. And even though I'm no longer in the school house, as I often call it, I'm still surrounded by students and I'm still able to help people.
Yeah, and I think becoming a school counselor was a great transition to that
Mhm,
because even
mhm,
though you're not an LPC, uh, by definition, you still work with a lot of the development of those students making that transition that we talked about.
mhm.
I like this one. This is Azaya Ray. She's in 10th grade, one of our band members, and she wants to be a mental health counselor.
Okay.
Um, and she asked, "What is your teaching philosophy?"
So, um, wow. That's a really good question. In a nutshell, I would say do the best that you can do. Do the best that you can do because once you've done your best, you can rest at night knowing that you've done your best. And like I say, I could give you this long drawn out statement on what I think and how things should be, but I just feel like you should do your best because, as I said before, you can sleep at night knowing that you've done all you can do.
Absolutely. Well, I got time for two more. This first one is Sanaya Norman. She's in 10th grade, one of our cheerleaders here. And she asked, "What are the biggest pros and the biggest cons of teaching?"
Pros. Now, Mr. Pike named a lot of them. We get holidays off, you get summers off, you kind of get a set schedule. Um, you get to hang around a bunch of, in a sense, like-minded people. You get a chance to be in really good environments with students, and you get a chance to just participate actively in students' lives. One of the pros that I always enjoy, and now I'm in a situation where my students are super duper older now, so I've gotten a chance to watch my students grow up. And I've gotten a chance to watch them grow into husbands, into fathers, into productive citizens. So just watching my students matriculate through life is a major pro for me. One of the cons, as I mentioned earlier, is that because of your love for students and your love for people and just the idea of wanting to help, you sometimes can take things personal. And you sometimes can take it to heart. And you can spend a lot of your moments that should be happy moments with your feelings hurt because you want certain things for your students and you want certain things for people, but it just doesn't play out like that always. And
Right.
my biggest like disappointment with education came as a school counselor. More so than teaching, but it came as a school counselor because I wanted my students to graduate so bad and I wanted it for them so bad, but it oftentimes wasn't met with the same expectation. So as a result of that, you know, kind of affected my mental health. But needless to say, that's one of the cons, I'm sorry, of working in education.
Well, I was just handed this one, and I got to ask this one because this is good. This is Michaela Lumpkin. She's in 10th grade, one of our cheerleaders. And
Okay.
she asked, "How would you describe your ideal teacher?"
Somebody that's fair. Somebody that's strong. Somebody that is allowed to operate and view things from different perspectives. Somebody that's calm, somebody that's proactive more so than reactive, and somebody that continues to raise the bar without having to lower the bar.
Big time. I agree with all those. I got time for one more, and I love this one too. This is Kenneth Jones. He's in 10th grade, member of our band. And he asked, "If someone wanted to be a teacher, what advice would you give them?"
Stay the course. And I say that because, again, I entered the field 17 years ago, and a lot of the things that are present now, like 17 years ago, we could not be on Zoom having a conversation. So I would just say stay the course because oftentimes becoming a teacher is met with such negativity. But if that's what you want to do and God called you to do that, stay the course. I often, I jokingly say it, but now in talking with you, I'm really thinking. I always say, well, before I retire, I want to go back and teach United States history one more year. Give it one more. one more round. But I say that because of my love for teaching. And even now, although I'm in the mental health realm and I came out of the classroom almost 10 years ago, teaching is still my first passion. Teaching is what I'm always often known for. Like I love teaching. So again, I say stay the course. Stay it.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially, especially for men, there's always a need for male teachers.
Yes.
I mean, I know I'm not anything special, but we definitely, we talked about how nursing really needs men.
Mhm.
Teaching needs men, even though,
Yes,
we have a lot of,
yes, yes.
we have a lot of football coaches and all that, and that's
Hmm.
great, but we need good coaches, but we also need more men to consider getting into teaching.
Yes,
It's
yes.
not it shouldn't be, and it's not a female only profession anymore.
Right,
You know,
right,
when your mom was teaching, even when my parents were coming up, pretty much 95% of teachers are female.
right, right,
It
right,
shouldn't be that way anymore. So
right.
really, really implore our young men
Shout
to
out
really
male
consider,
teachers.
yeah, to really consider getting into the teaching field because it really it needs them a lot. Um,
Absolutely.
Now we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much
Oh no, I'm
for
not
taking some
ready to
time
go.
for
No, I'm
us.
just joking.
But a couple things before we go. First of all, if we have kids that are going to be at Hinds in the fall, how do they get in contact with your department to get to help of any sort there on campus?
Okay, so if you are going to come to Hinds, no matter what the campus you're going to be on, you're going to go to our Hinds website and go to student services. Under student services, you will find mental health services. And we are here.
Yeah, and again, don't see mental health and think that you're crazy. I mean,
Oh,
you guys help
absolutely.
with the smallest of issues
Hmm.
to the biggest of issues. So it
Hmm.
really is something. It's 100% free.
Hmm.
Go in there,
Hmm.
and I promise, even if it's a small issue, you'll talk to them for 3 hours
Yes,
just to
yes,
hear their story. So and
yes.
when you get done, Donnie Epting will talk to them too. Um, so many
Or
great
we
people
may
over there
talk
at
to him
Hinds.
together. We may talk to the student together.
Exactly. So, but again, everybody at Hinds over there,
Hmm.
whether you're at Pearl or Raymond or Vicksburg, Jackson or Utica,
Utica.
so many great people that are there to help. And I
Hmm.
know we have a lot of students considering going there or have already decided they're going there. So really make use of all those
Hmm.
resources you have, no matter
Absolutely.
what campus you go to. Now, the last
Absolutely.
thing before we go, we talked about how we need male teachers, but we just need young people to get into this field, period.
Yes,
So
yes.
why should these young people really consider getting into the education field?
So, as someone that entered the education field, I turned 21 my first year teaching, and my colleagues got together and took me to the casino. How about that? But needless, I would definitely encourage you because it is rewarding. It may not seem at the moment financially rewarding, but you would never go without because there's always going to be opportunities. And if you're anything like Greg and I, you're going to continue to go to school and you're going to continue to get those degrees so that you can make advancement in the workplace and you can begin to branch out to do other things. So I would just definitely encourage you to go and to come into this field because you are definitely needed and it is definitely necessary. My mom always told me many, many years ago, there are a lot of jobs in life that's going to always be there, and teaching is one of those.
Absolutely. So again, we thank you so much for joining us. My sister from another mister, Dionne, Calandria Dionne Walker Evans. We thank you so much for joining us today.
And it was awesome. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, everything was good. Like I'm just super excited now. And now your students got me thinking about calling and giving me a teaching job. Not psych, but yeah, thinking about going. But like I say, I'm married to a teacher, and so Greg's one of my best, closest friends. And so shout out to all the teachers across the way.
All right. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, thank you. Bye bye.